Hello world, I'm John Laws. What's on your mind, Australia? Give us a call, tell us about it. 1300 564 652 is the telephone number that you dial. If you'd like to send a text message, 0458 049 209. 0458 049 209. Keep it brief if you can. It's Thursday morning, 14th day of April. A little useless information to start the day. Don't like much of this. In 2006, an Australian man once tried to auction New Zealand on eBay. The highest bidder reached $3,000 before they closed the whole thing down. Well, the nation's airport terminals have been bracing for the busiest day for a couple of years now, with the Melbourne airport joining Sydney when it comes to lengthy queues for check-ins and security procedures. It's just utterly ridiculous, this, and the problems are spreading now. At Sydney Airport, the lines have been out of the doors at the domestic terminal this morning. 82,000 passengers expected to pass through these terminals today. Qantas has brought in staff from head office to try and speed up the check-in process as they take a break from Zumba classes and patting puppy dogs, which is all part of a welcome back to head office day run by Qantas. I'm not making that up. No, I'm not making that up at all. The lead up to Good Friday is traditionally a busy day for travel, but after 2 years of COVID lockdowns, it seems the nation's airport operators are well and truly lacking match practice. They don't know what they're doing. 2 women and 2 men have been charged over yesterday's mindless and unauthorised protest on the Sydney Harbour Bridge ahead of threats of renewed protests again today. Aren't they clever, these people? So clever. Officials have been conducting patrols on the bridge when they spotted the truck stopped near the Cahill Expressway. 2 people glued themselves to the road. Leave the stupid bastards there. They want to be glued to the road. Leave them there. Anyway, that's what they did, glued themselves to the road, and a couple of others climbed on top of the truck and lit flares, all in the name of climate anarchy. Can you believe it? The 4 of them are going to face court today. Police have stepped up their patrols of the bridge given the threats of more protest action. Let's hope these 4 idiots get the same treatment as the pitch invader carrying a flare at the weekend. Bit of prison time won't go astray there, will it? Queensland is easing more of its COVID restrictions today with the end of checking in and the removal of the bans on the unvaccinated. Vaccine mandates are still going to be enforced for aged care, hospitals and other vulnerable settings as well. But when it comes to bars and restaurants, the unvaccinated can now freely mingle with the vaccinated in the state of Queensland. Prime Minister Scott Morrison will be campaigning in Tasmania today, armed with a $220 billion package for forestry. He's seeking to shore up support for a couple of seats in Tasmania, and he's probably hoping that he'll make some gains in the third. I don't know about that. Meantime, the Easter break can't come quickly enough for Anthony Albanese. He had a shocking start to the official campaign, and yesterday he cut short his daily news conference despite previously stating that he would answer every question. Didn't answer one. The Labor strategies would... those people who are organising Anthony Albanese are going to be very worried about the way the campaign has started for him. It has been absolutely abysmal. Meantime, new research into the Financial Review provides a fresh insight into just how soft support for Labor really is. Are they aware of this? You know, undecided voters overwhelmingly say that they're leaning towards Scott Morrison. Now, according to the research, Mr Albanese is regarded as dull, uninspiring and too negative. One Western Sydney voter has previously supported Labor has described the Labor lead-up as a gap filler. You know, it really is a problem for them. That's how this voter, a staunch Labor supporter, has described the Labor leader as a gap filler. Well, who's next? There are claims today that the gang crisis sweeping Western Sydney is now impacting on the entire city, with police mounting an all-out effort to stop the bloodshed. It all comes back to those so-called postcode wars. You know, prior to this week's Easter show stabbings in Sydney, most of us had never heard of a postcode war. I hadn't. But now they appear to be at that crisis point, at least according to the Telegraph. Sydney's median rental asking price is rising at its fastest annual rate in 13 years, and housing affordability and rents are becoming increasingly unaffordable for many people all over the country. Some of this is heightened by the rise of short-term holiday lettings through the Airbnb and stays things. And one of America's top foreign policy makers has warned the Solomon Islands Prime Minister that China will become the country's owner and minder. Strong words. If this fellow pushes ahead with the security pact with Beijing, that's what the Prime Minister believes is going to happen. A top foreign policy maker has issued that warning. In sport, in the NRL, round 6 kicks off tonight with Canberra at home to North Queensland. We'll do the tips as we go through the morning. Penrith goes from strength to strength, don't they? Nathan Cleary re-signing with the club through until 2027. His dad, Ivan, has also committed long-term as a coach. It's a good double. It is a good double. In the AFL, Brisbane hosts Collingwood tonight as round 5 gets underway. The Sydney Swans are in action tomorrow night, playing West Coast in Perth. And in tennis, Novak Djokovic has lost his opening round match at the Monte Carlo Masters in just his second tournament of the year, following his refusal to be vaccinated against COVID. I think it's brought him bad luck. The Serbian tennis career is now in free fall, with his form and his match fitness slipping away very, very sharply. He's lost in three sets to the 46th ranked Spaniard. Yeah, that's not a good sign at all. Well, there you've got it. That's a bit of what is on my mind. I'd like to know what's on yours, and to tell us, pick up the telephone, dial the number 1300 564652. Okay, poor old Anthony Albanese must have been kicking himself yesterday after watching the Greens leader, Adam Bandt. He had a very quick-witted response to a headline-chasing young journalist's question. Mr. Bandt was answering questions during the National Press Club speech yesterday when one reporter asked him what the current wage price index was, obviously trying to get another the next big gotcha moments in Australian politics. Anyway, instead of stumbling over the statistics with his tongue poking out and deep in thought about how he could possibly spin this one, Mr. Bandt replied, "Google it, mate." Good reply. In other words, go look for yourself. Google it, mate. Somewhere in Canberra, they must have, Mr. Albanese's media team must have been sitting there taking down notes for the next time the opposition leader gets thrown a curve ball. He'll get plenty thrown at him, believe me. Mr. Bandt continued to tell the poor journalist, who was probably cowering in embarrassment by this time, saying politics should be about reaching for the stars and offering a better society instead of remembering statistics. I think that was a very reasonable point and a very good statement. To top off an already pretty smooth response, Mr. Bandt then correctly answered the question, saying wages were growing at about 2%. ABS figures recorded 2.3% rise in December. Well, he wasn't far off the mark. But for the most part, I agree with Mr. Bandt. I do agree with him. There are too many journalists impatiently waiting for their big moment to ambush politicians with small-minded and stupid bloody questions, all in the name of getting 5 minutes of fame. Sickening and stupid. I mean, the nonsense with this, with the loaf of bread and the litre of milk with Scott Morrison, that's going to go down in history as one of the most ridiculous moments in Australian politics ever. But Mr. Albanese, he can't be awarded the same leniency. Not knowing the unemployment or cash rate is inexcusable, I'm sorry. He wants to lead the country, and, you know, Anthony Albanese is a nice fellow, but that's inexcusable. Not knowing the unemployment rate or the cash rate? With an election grounded on economic policy, who can manage it better? I mean, Mr. Albanese could be able to recite those figures in his sleep. And he played right into Scott Morrison's hands by making the blunder, and it was a blunder. I'm sure that Mr. Albanese has been studying his numbers frantically since Monday, in the unlucky event that somebody might ask him another cheap question. But I doubt any smart response could repair the damage that's already been done. I think he could well have lost the election with that comment. Tell me what is on your mind. I'd love to know, but I want to play a song. Roger sings this for me.
The people in the city call me country because of how I walk and talk and smile. Well, I don't mind them laughing in the city, but the country folks all say I'm city-fied. The fighting men may say that I'm a coward because I never push no one around. Gentle people call me troublemaker, 'cause I'll always fight and stand my ground. Funny I don't fit, where have all the average people gone? Some pious people point and call me sinner, because to them I've never seen the light. Other folks think of me as a preacher. I'm just doing what I think is right. The wealthy people think that I am a hobo, lean and hungry, writing mournful songs. And the poor, poor people think I am a rich man, but really, I'm just trying to get along. Yes, it's funny I don't fit. Tell me where have all the average people gone? And the government has given me a number to simplify my birth and life and death. And still my woman thinks I'm all important, like moon and sun and sea and sky and breath. Yes, it's funny I don't fit. Where have all the average people gone? Funny I don't fit. Where have all the average people gone?
I love that song, but I love Roger. Funny I don't fit. Where have all the average people gone? Okay, tell me what is on your mind. 1300 56 4652. Look, could somebody... Yeah, I need help. Could somebody really explain to me how sparking a traffic jam can help to reduce climate change? Could somebody explain that to me? Because when you break down this mindless and idiotic action of these climate anarchists, that's the fundamental question that emerges. I mean, and it's a good... Could you explain to me how starting a traffic jam can help to reduce climate change? That is the important question. You know, whether it's blocking ports or rail lines or cargo or bridges and tunnels, or all their protests are aimed at disruption and designed to cause maximum inconvenience to the largest number of people. You know, it's not stoic. That's bullshit. It's selfish. That's what it is. 4 more protests have been arrested after yesterday's Sydney Harbour Bridge stupidity. 2 men and 2 women are going to face court this morning. And given the New South Wales government recently increased the penalties, it's going to be very interesting to see what the magistrate does with these clowns. Let's hope it gets into the courtroom in the next couple of hours. 1 second Fireproof Australia or Blockade Australia. One moment they're complaining about the tougher new penalties, and they are complaining about them. The next second they're finding new bunnies prepared to glue themselves to the bloody roadway despite the risk those penalties are going to impose. What's the matter? Are these people screwy? A bit unusual. These anarchists, they hate the idea that their business model of disruption and chaos is now being tackled head-on by the New South Wales government and the New South Wales police. You know, they somehow think that's unfair because of some perceived moral superiority over their climate change campaign. These people think they're better than other people. But how the hell does banking up traffic with thousands of cars pumping out exhaust fumes into the air while they're just sitting there, how does that do anything to tackle climate change? Could somebody tell me? They're only adding to it, aren't they? Surely they're only adding to it. And they can't say it's an awareness campaign. The whole world is aware of the bloody issue. It's how you tackle it and how quickly that some come to define the responses to it. I mean, the responses to it have been quite extraordinary in many ways, and that's the sticking point. And that's the other great irony too, because all of the states in Australia, none has more ambitious approach to climate policy than the state of New South Wales. No, really. It's committed to halving carbon emissions on 2005 levels by 2030 and of reaching net zero emissions by 2050. Now, of course, that's going to be never soon enough for these dummies who'd rather glue their hands to the road. But they seem to have their eyes and ears closed as well. They're idiots. Let's hope the courts send another very strong message to yesterday's four clowns that these lawless disruptions are not going to be tolerated. Send the message loud and clear. We are not going to tolerate it any longer, and nor should anybody have to tolerate it any longer. You're inconveniencing the entire city. I saw one bloke on television last night, I think it was, who said to the camera, for God's sake, all I want to do is go to work. He said, I just want to go to work. And you people are stopping people who have initiative and actually have a job. No, J-O-B, job. You know what that is? Oh, I thought not. Okay, tell me what is on your mind. 1300 564 652 being the telephone number that you dial. Dale is there, did you say? I think he might be. Dale, are you there?
Dale's here.
Dale's there. Well, isn't that a good thing? Good morning, Dale.
We're going to the Easter show this Saturday.
Well, you could have said good morning, John.
Say good morning, John.
Thank you, Dale. Good morning, Dale. You're going to the Easter show this Saturday?
This Saturday.
Well, aren't you lucky? Aren't you lucky? What's your favourite at the Easter show?
My favourite at the Easter show are the animals.
Yeah, I love the animals too.
I do like the animals.
Yeah, those little woolly lambs. I love those little woolly lambs. I'd like to pick one up, cuddle it and put it under my coat and take it home. But I don't think I'd be allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to do that?
No, I'd be in trouble if I did that. What animal do you like the best?
The horses.
Like the horses?
I like the horses.
They're beautiful, aren't they? They are just beautiful, those horses. And what else do you like? When you go to the show, what do you do when you go to the show?
Walk around. Walk around.
Yeah.
Walk around and meet all the people at the show.
Do you say hello to the people?
Say hello to the people at the show.
Do you say hello, I'm Dale?
Yes, I do.
Oh, well, and do they recognise you and say hello, Dale? I know about you.
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
Well, isn't that nice? And do you talk to the country people, because the nice country people get at the show, don't they?
The country people said yes.
Now, when are you going? You're going on Saturday, did you tell me?
Going this Saturday.
That's tomorrow. No, day after tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, Good Friday. So day after tomorrow. Well, that'll be wonderful. I hope it's a lovely day. I hope the sun is shining and that you have a happy time.
Say thank you for Trish for send the money to the tell Trish send me money to the Easter show to buy something at the show.
Well, that's nice. You can buy something at the show.
Yeah.
Was it a listener who sent the money?
Chris, one of my fans.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of my fans.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was very nice of Chris to do that.
Yes.
Very nice of Chris to do that. So what are you going to buy when you go? You're not going to buy that fairy floss stuff, are you?
No.
Bad for your teeth, that, I reckon. It's just pure sugar, isn't it, fairy floss?
Fairy Fops, yeah.
Pure sugar. I don't know that that's all that good for you. But if you like it, it's only once. I suppose you might as well enjoy yourself if you want to have it and ruin your teeth.
Yeah. I got a point to see the dentist today at 12.
Yeah, speaking of teeth, that's a good pickup line there. Yes, well, it's a good thing that you go to see your dentist, and you better tell your dentist that you're going to the show and say to your dentist, is fairy floss all right to eat? And the dentist will tell you if it is or if it isn't.
Yeah, you're going to tell him.
Yeah, the dentist will tell you. Ask the dentist, say, is it okay for me to eat fairy floss?
And
Huh?
Joe, I'm going to see Joe this Saturday. I'm going to stay overnight at my auntie's place, Auntie Jody, on Saturday.
Well, isn't that lovely? You're going to Auntie Jody's house, aren't you lucky?
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And what are you going to do? You have some morning tea, or you have some lunch, or what do you do? Or sit around? What you watch television?
Going to have steak. Go to the club.
Go to the club. Now you're talking. And do you have a shandy when you go to the club?
Yes, I do. I do.
Well, that's nice to have. Only one, though, or maybe two. No, one. I think one. One shandy. Do you have one shandy?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Are you going to sing me a song today? I really would like to hear a song.
And then remember to the hill, then much in the mountain, much up the hill, and the land of the in the made and the hill, and what's in the morning, I make a big hill.
I played that the other day, and you've remembered it. Tra-la-la, twiddly-dee-dee, it gives me a thrill to wake up in the morning to the mockingbird's trill.
A hill.
Tra-la-la, twiddly-dee-dee, there's peace and goodwill.
And the hill.
You're welcome as the flowers on Mockingbird Hill. A lovely little song. Have you got another song to sing me? Have you could sing me another song?
Yeah, today.
Yeah?
Today.
Yeah. You going to sing me another song?
Yeah. It's going to be... And what are you going to sing to the... What are you going to sing at the Easter show? All your fans at the Easter show. What song are you going to sing?
Well, yeah, that's all your fans at the Easter show. Well, they're getting ready to go to the Easter show. I don't know. What are you going to sing?
It sure is true when you say, I love you. It's a sin you tell. I lie, meanings are heavy broken, just because his word was spoken. I love you, yes I do.
I love you.
And you break my heart, I try. And the show is true when you say it's a sing.
Well, what about that? Was that good or not? That was terrific, Dale. That was very good. Make sure it's true when you... I like that song too. It's a good old song.
A good old song, you do.
Yeah, very good old song. I like it very much.
Well, then you tell all your fans at the show. You tell them, John. Tell them now.
What do you want me to tell them?
Tell them that Dale's going to be at the show this Saturday.
Okay, people who are going to the show on Saturday, whatever you do, watch out for Dale. And if you see Dale, say hello to him and say, "You're Dale. You're one of my favourites." Say hello to him, shake his hand, and ask him. He could probably sing a song for you.
Probably sing a song.
Yeah, wouldn't that be good? So if you see Dale, any John Laws listeners who are going, when are you going? Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, yeah.
Okay, and you happen to be at the show and you happen to see Dale, ask him to sing a song. Because, as you've heard, he's a very good singer. Very good singer.
Yes.
All right, mate, now have you been cooking?
I cooked last Tuesday night.
I know, it seems Tuesday night is the night of cooking, but not roast lamb again, was it?
I mean, making mince.
Minced lamb or minced beef?
Minced beef. Makes curry.
Oh, you've been making curry. I love curry.
Love curry.
I do love curry.
Yeah.
I really love curry. Where do I have curry?
You have curry?
Yeah, I like it. I like having curry. It's very good. And it kind of cleans your mouth, even though I like it when it's a bit hot as well.
Very hot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, I better go and I'll tell you what I do like. There's a lovely restaurant down there on that wharf called China Dole, and they have and they have green fish curry. Sounds terrible, but tastes good. Very good China Dole. Very good fish curry. Where is Shalon? She's not at China Dole anymore. She's what? At Bistro Rex. There's another of my favourite restaurants, because that's another of my favourite people. My friend Shalon, she's at Bistro Rex. What do I have at Bistro Rex? A lot. You see, that's what happens when you're a lonely old man. Yeah. Terrible, isn't it? All right, mate. Well, you have a lovely, lovely weekend. Make people happy. Sing a few songs. And we'll talk to each other again next week.
You know, the Easter Bunny's coming on Saturday night. That I get some Easter eggs for the Easter. The Easter show is going to be lots of. The bunny's still hopping around. You know, Easter Bunny.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny. He's still hopping around.
He's still hopping around.
That's very Well, he is. He's very important. The Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of people happy, doesn't he?
Yeah. What you do the Easter Bunny come to see Dale at the show? What the Easter Bunny would do?
Well, the Easter Bunny will probably bring an egg or two, won't he? Yeah, I'm sure he'll come armed with a couple of eggs and give you an egg.
Yeah.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be nice.
An egg from the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, I've got to go and do something here. I'm going to get into trouble.
Get in trouble? No.
Oh, no, we don't want John to get into trouble, do we?
No.
No matter what. Stay out of trouble, that's what I say. Oh, if only. All right, Dale, well, you have a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend, and we'll talk to each other next week.
Yeah, have a lovely weekend. Talk to you next week.
That'll be good, Dale.
That'd be good, yes.
Very good. All right, mate, well, you look after yourself, and we will talk to each other next week, I promise.
I promise. I hope you had a good weekend. Hope Dale had a good weekend.
I hope Dale has a terrific weekend. Yeah, I'd like a reasonable weekend too, if you don't mind. I wouldn't mind a good weekend. Let's hope that everybody listening has a good weekend.
Yeah, all the going to the Easter show, I'm lucky. Very lucky.
You are very lucky. You are, no doubt about it. You are very lucky. All right, mate. Well, I'd better go. So you have a lovely weekend. Enjoy yourself at the Easter show, and we'll talk to each other again next week.
Okay.
Goodbye, buddy.
Bye, buddy. Hope you had a great weekend, John.
I hope you have a terrific weekend too, Dale. Tell me what is on your mind. 1300 564 652. He's wonderful, isn't he, Dale? He really is. I just love him. Just love him. Who have we got? 1300 564 652 is the number. Giovanni, are you there?
Yes, John, how are you?
I'm very well. I like your name.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was blessed with Italian parents that came out in 1948 and got off the ship in Port Melbourne, and I'm first generation. Now my kids are second. Now I've got grandchildren, 5. They're third generation.
Okay, well, that's good. So, now you are a dyed-in-the-wool Aussie. Now, why have you called me Giovanni?
Okay. I just, in regards to Anthony, his correct pronunciation is Albanese.
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 Yes, correct.
Thank you for the assistance. It's going to be difficult to get out of the habit of saying Anthony Albanese because it's what everybody says. It's called common usage. But anyway, now, Giovanni, why have you called me?
Okay, when he was interviewed and got didn't know the answers, he reminded me of John Hewson when he was interviewed by Mike Willesee and got the GST on the cake wrong. He's done a classic Huey. Yeah,
I know, but that's done to death, that sort of thing. Trying to catch him out, I think, is done to death. But the mistake made by Anthony Albanese was not a joke. I mean, he didn't know.
No, No, I know. It's just anyway. We got to go with it, and you have a nice Easter, John.
Okay, that was nice and quick and simple, Giovanni. Thank you for the call. But I can tell you something, Giovanni, if you're still listening there. New polling reveals that Australia's undecided voters are increasingly leaning towards Scott Morrison, with reports in the Financial Review claiming it's a case of better the devil you know than the devil you don't know, and I suppose there's a bit of truth in that. When you look into this research, it's what makes this week's gaffes by Anthony Albanese even more telling, really even more telling. He can't afford these slip-ups given so few people really know too much about him anyway. They don't know much about him anyway. And if it's just going to be remembered for his mistakes, it's not going to help him in an election campaign. But it is extraordinary to think that Mr Albanese can be so seemingly anonymous to so many voters. People don't know anything about him. A lot of people don't want to know anything about him. Well, he's been in Parliament for 26 years. And at one stage he held the position of Deputy Prime Minister. Can you remember that? And now he's looking for the top job. But the general view of the respondents is that Mr Albanese is dull, uninspiring, and dreadfully negative. That's what they're saying. That's what the polls show. And while the Financial Review, their research data finds views of Scott Morrison are largely, but not entirely negative, he's still viewed by undecided voters as the least bad option, and that's all it is, not the best, but the least bad option for the May 21st election. It highlights a point that I've been making for months and months and months, even as one poll after another showed that Labor was maintaining an edge over the coalition. The reality is that the voter support for Labor is very, very soft, and the reason, I'm afraid to say, is Anthony Albanese. Voters aren't rushing out to anoint him as the next Prime Minister, the way they did with Kevin Rudd. And as we get to the end of the first week of the campaign, there are some similarities to the way the things were heading back in 2019. Stop and think about it. I mean, Scott Morrison is a superior campaigner. There is no doubt about that. He is a superior campaigner. He's been a treasurer, and he's got very, very strong economic credentials. Now, Australia's economic growth rate and its reduction in the unemployment rate is world-leading as nations emerge from the impacts of the COVID lockdowns. It is world-leading here in Australia. Why are people going to want to change it? That's what they're asking themselves. In contrast, Anthony Albanese has been forced to inflate his economic credentials, and as a former Labor leader, Mark Latham points out, when Mr Albanese has the choice of portfolios as Labor deputy leader, he shunned any economic ones and stuck with the transport where he could cut ribbons and open roads. Bit cruel, Mark, but nonetheless true. In 1 week, the election campaign has shifted squarely onto the area where the Morrison government wants to be, and that's the economy. That's what they want to talk about, the economy. Still early days in the campaign, but the signs were already increasingly a concern for the Labor Party and for Anthony Albanese in particular. Too late to dump him now, isn't it? I mean, he might be able to name Grace Tame and Brittany Higgins, but if you can't identify the official cash rate, then he's got real problems there, hasn't he? Okay, 1300 564 652 if you would like to give us a call and tell us what's on your mind. 1300 564 652. Errol, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Laws, how are you going?
I'm pretty good, Errol. Were you named after Errol Flynn?
I wish I was, but I'm not a swashbuckler like he was.
Never mind. I'm sure you're an absolute delight, Errol. Why have you called me?
Well, first time I've ever called you in my life. I speak to Brent Bultitude a bit now and then.
I beg your pardon?
I speak to Brent Bultitude now and then.
Oh, do you? Well, lucky old you.
Yeah. Mr Albanese, now, first I'm saying I was a Labor voter, but the last few years I voted Liberal, so I'll get that out of the way first, right? Now, a few years back, me and my wife and a lot of other pensioners, we went to Canberra for the carbon tax rally. Right?
You went to Canberra for what?
The carbon tax rally.
Oh, I remember that, yes.
And Mr Albanese, in his wisdom, he decided to call us the convoy of incontinence. Now, me, my wife, and I'm quite sure a lot of elderly people will never forget that.
Yeah, the convoy of incontinence.
You know what that means, mate.
Yeah, of course I do.
People can't hold their bladder.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Not very nice, mate. But these guys don't...
I must say I didn't hear that, nor have I heard it since, but you've told me, so I believe you.
It's quite true, mate, because I spoke... On the way home, we pulled into Godna-Wendy. I was speaking to the guys, Graham. He's on at night time. One of the Grahams, anyhow.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and I told him about it then, you know. It's just, these guys don't think down the track or can come back to bite them on the backside, mate, you know. You know, and I can think, I'll tell you now, I have not been vaxxed. I don't intend getting vaxxed. I look after myself. I get around for my spray bottle of metho. I go to the fuel bowser. I spray the pump. I spray my hands. I go to the shop. I spray the trolley. I get me change. I spray my hands.
Okay, but if you got vaccinated, you wouldn't have to go to all that trouble.
Well, mate, I can tell you now, quite a few friends of mine have been vaccinated, and they've still got the crap, mate. You know. Anyhow, that's just my opinion, John. You know.
Yeah, well, you're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah,
but wouldn't it just be easier to get vaccinated?
No, mate, I've got a few lung issues going on. I'm not going down that trail, but it's my doctors advised me not to get the needle. Put it that way.
All right. Well, if your doctor has advised you, then of course you've got to take your doctor's advice, not mine.
No, if people looked after themselves a bit better, like I see these people down the shop with masks on, they go straight past the hand sanitizer, they go up the ATM, they push all the buttons, they pull their mask out, they stick the fingers in their nose and their mouth. You know, it's just about general sanitation. It's the same as the flu, mate. Okay, this is worse than the flu, right? But it's the same thing as the flu.
Yeah, well, one way or another. Well, it's a virus. That's all you can say. It's a virus. Yeah. But I mean, it's different to the flu. But it's simply a virus, and we really don't understand it.
No, and to think what they've done for the last 2 years, to what avail? Now we're all open. It can go rampant. No one knows where it's going to go. But personally, myself, I don't worry about it. I look after myself. And like I said, just said a minute ago, I've never had the flu in my life. And I can tell you what, it's so nice to get onto you so quick.
Yeah.
I would have waited a half an hour. Anyhow, you have a great day, John.
Yeah. Are you sure you shouldn't get vaccinated?
I'm positive, mate. I'm positive. Mate, I'm 74 now, and quite frankly, what's going on in the world today, I don't really care a rat's, mate. You know, like I keep myself busy. I restore old cars in the shed to keep myself busy. When I was in hospital, a quick story, I had a male nurse. We got talking, and he said about old Ford. I raced historic escorts, and he said, my first car was a 105E Angler, 1964. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, what'd you do with it? He says, it's been sitting in his dad's shed for 26 years at Moggill in Queensland. I said, do you want to sell it? He said, no. He said, but if you restore it, I'll give it to you.
If you what?
In my driveway now, fully restored, painted hot orange, a big black stripe down the side, mag wheels, a 1600 Cortina engine, disc brake front end. Very nice little car, mate.
A very quick little car, probably.
It is. I can tell you now, mate. It's got a 355 diff in it. You can drive around in top gear all day long. It just pulls away like a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
I think it'll only weigh about 800 kilos.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a pretty quick little bit of gear.
Yeah. Well, my son drove it the weekend back on the racetrack, and he thought it was pretty slick. You know, yeah. For a 55-year-old car, it drives really well. You know.
55, pretty old for a motor car. Yeah, I agree. I'm going now. I'm sick of that. Yeah, we'll check and see if Anthony Albanese did say that convoy of incontinence. I'd like to know if that was really said. You know, that's the kind of thing that shouldn't get spread if it's incorrect, and I don't know whether it's incorrect or not, but I would be very surprised. We'll check on that and see if that he did call that group the convoy of incontinence. It's not a very smart thing to do if he did, because there are many people who would vote for him who happen to be in the age group where incontinence could be a problem. Okay, 1300 564 652, our telephone number. Give us a call. Tell us what's on your mind. Oh, Jesus. Hey, Brad, what the hell are you doing there? Brad?
Hello.
Yeah, God save me, what's that noise?
It's me truck. I'm just pulling over now.
God, it's a noisy truck. Time for a service, mate, by the sound of that.
I do.
Okay, all right. Have you pulled over?
I pulled over.
Okay, now, what do you want to talk about?
Yesterday, my son, he's an apprentice mechanic in Taree, where we live, and on tractors and that, and he was asked to go and deliver a lawnmower to a customer, and he was going through Taree, and he got pulled over by the local police, and he got a fine for, he lost 2 points, and I think it's a $250 fine.
What was the offence?
Sorry?
What was the offence?
The trailer he was towing was 120 kilos overweight.
Well, the law is the law.
Sorry?
I said the law is the law, and 120 kilos, that's a fair amount of weight.
That's the weight of me, 120 kilos, but I looked at it, and for an apprentice in his first year, I mean, he could have given him a warning. He's only 2 kilometres from their depot.
Look, he broke the law. It's up to the police how they decide to enforce the law. You might consider that a bit tough. I might consider it a bit tough. But what he did was quite legal.
Well, yes, but he's allowed to drive a 4.5-tonne truck on his speed.
Yeah, look, he's your son, so obviously you're going to be a little bit biased in his favour. But the point is that he broke the law.
I understand if you're speeding or anything.
I beg your pardon? If he broke the law, he broke the law. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a bit rough for a young fella trying to get on his feet.
Yes, it is, all of that, but there's a sad story that goes with every speeding ticket ever issued, ever in the world. You have to learn from your mistakes. Let's hope that your boy learns from his. And he's not entitled to any preferential treatment because he's a young man and because he's your son. Forget that. Okay, tell me what's on your mind. 1300 564 652 is the telephone number that you dial. Got it? 1300 564 652. The New South Wales Transport Minister, David Elliott's going to be hoping he can buy his way out of trouble for his very clumsy handling of the recent Sydney train strikes with a series of fare-free days on the public transport network across Easter and beyond, I might say. The Minister himself, who's a good bloke, his recent performance has been pretty bad, lamentable. Now millions of taxpayer dollars are being shelled out in a bid to buy peace with the unions. It's I don't know who do you point the finger at? I mean, the rail network's been a mess at times over the past month or two with rolling strike action, a complete shutdown of the network and reduced timetables. At a time when the government and businesses are trying to encourage more people back into the office, the last thing anybody needs is a further disincentive such as widespread disruptions to the rail network. That is not needed at all. In the lead-up to the recent rail shutdown, it emerged that Mr Elliott went to bed on Saturday night, leaving the fate of the Sydney rail network and the millions who rely on it in the hands of a few bureaucrats and his chief of staff. He's going to have difficulty living that down. You know, a minister can, and as I say, nice fella and everything that he happens to be, a minister can't abandon his post at a time of looming crisis. I mean, he's needed to be involved in the negotiations, even if negotiations, it doesn't matter if he has no skill at negotiating at all, doesn't matter at all. David Elliott should have been at the ready to make decisions, and sadly he wasn't. He seemed to make a virtue of the fact that had the Sydney Trains boss phoned him after midnight on that Monday morning, he wouldn't have answered the phone anyway. That doesn't matter. And now, as a compensation for those recent shortcomings, millions of dollars in fares are going to be sacrificed to allow people to travel for nothing across the Sydney public transport network in a bid to curry a bit of favour with the unions. Are we still frightened of the unions? All right, tell me what is on your mind. 1300 564 652. To celebrate the Australian Ballet's 60th anniversary season, the company has announced a re-imaged performance of Swan Lake for 2023. Now, the Australian Ballet's artistic director, David Hallberg, or Hallberg, I'm not sure, I'll ask in a minute, which creates Swan Lake. It's tailor-made for a new era, they tell me, and what is David's first major commission for the company. It should be wonderful. In fact, I'm sure it's going to be more than wonderful. It'll be marvellous. And to tell us more about the Australian Ballet's artistic director, David Hallberg, is on the line now. David, before we go any further, is it Hallberg or Hallberg?
It's Hallberg. No worries.
Okay, Hallberg. I got it. Not only is this the cornerstone of the Australian Ballet's 60th anniversary celebrations, it's also your first major commission. Are you feeling a little nervous?
When people ask me that question, then I'm starting to feel nervous. But to be honest, I'm feeling really excited. I mean, I think, as you know, a classic Swan Lake has been long overdue with this company, and every major ballet company around the world has a version that stands the test of time, and I'm really looking for this one to stand through decades to come so Australian audiences can continue to enjoy this famous ballet.
How will it vary to other presentations of the ballet? How will it differ? Are the costumes going to be different? Is the dances going to be different? Is the music can't be different?
Well, the music is iconic, and as is the choreography. You know, Swan Lake, the reason it's stood the test of time is that it's the most beautiful ballet ever created. And so, choreographically, musically, nothing is going to change. It's what people will expect of Swan Lake. But I find that what's so important with repertoire like Swan Lake is to not have it be a museum piece in a way, but give it fresh life and give it a reason why it's relevant to today's audiences. And that will be in the set design and the costume design. And, you know, when they sit down in their seat, they come to see Swan Lake, they'll see one of the best versions in the world. And that's what I expect of the Australian Ballet. And I think that's what audiences should expect of the Australian Ballet.
The Australian Ballet is wonderful. I've supported it for years and years and years, and will continue to support it because I think it's one of the most wonderful ballets ensembles in the entire world. I think it really is wonderful.
Thank you so much, John. I completely agree with you. I, first danced for the Australian Ballet in 2010 by invitation of David McAllister, who is my predecessor. And then, lo and behold, I would have never dreamt that I'd become the next artistic director. But here I am, steering the ship and really bringing it into a new era. It's really a really exciting moment for the company. Okay,
well, as you have said, and as I agree, it's a timeless ballet, so how the hell do you reproduce it for a new era while, and I hope you do, maintaining the classical roots?
Well, the classical roots are so important to this company, and that's exactly why I'm giving new life to a version of Swan Lake that was in the repertoire for upwards of 20 years. And this version was performed, there was about 600 or 700 performances of this ballet, of this version, and I'm giving it new life. So I'm looking back at the rich history of the company and, not trying to reinvent the wheel with such a famous work that everyone loves, but give it fresh life. So when the curtain comes up, people are just in awe of what they see on stage, not only the beauty of the dancing, but the beauty and the quality of the production.
How will it... it's going to be interesting to see how you can make it different from the Australian Ballet's prior Swan Lake productions. There have been a few of them, but how are you going to make it different?
Well, the latest version, and honestly, the one that was most famous was Graham Murphy's Swan Lake.
Yes.
Complete retake of Swan Lake, and certainly his vision, and one of David McAllister's actually first commissions, which is quite timely that it was one of his first commissions, and now it's one of my first commissions. But I'm really going back to the roots of Swan Lake, why it was so successful in Russia, why it's so famous, the lakeside, the swans. I'm really going back to what people love about Swan Lake, and that's just the beauty of all of those swans in their tutus by the lakeside.
Yeah, I think I sponsored a swan. Did I sponsor a swan? Yeah, I've sponsored a swan.
The swan. And listen, there will be your name will be engraved in one of the tutus on stage, John. So I hope you have your ticket.
Listen, if they're going to engrave my name on a tutu, I hope the people don't think it's me wearing it.
Well, we'll make a tutu especially for you. And you.
I'd love that. But it is, I have got involved in memory of my late wife, who was a very fine dancer, I might say, and danced with Sadler's Wells in London. And she loved Swan Lake, well, she loved all ballet, and she was a very good dancer. So I have done this in memory of Caroline.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And listen, she wasn't with a shabby company called Sadler's Wells, which then became the Royal Ballet. So listen, she I'm sure she was a gorgeous dancer, and one of those swans on stage is in memory of her. It's really a beautiful story.
Yeah, I think it's very nice. And I'm delighted you're involved. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, David. And maybe we'll get the opportunity to talk again about another ballet that in which you can be involved and which can be presented to the Australian public who have got to learn to love ballet. They're pretty good now. The Australian public are pretty good with ballets now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've always been so impressed by is the devotion of the audiences for the Australian ballet. Honestly, it's really unique to the rest of the world. Ballet is so strong in Russia, but there's such a strong audience base here that has been built up over time. Just a love for the company, and also the Australian ballet, a love for our audiences.
There are going to be a lot of people in this country of ours, fine country that it is, who have never seen a ballet, don't have any idea about ballet. But now they're getting interested because we're talking about it more, and we should be talking about it more as we have some of the finest. And we shouldn't forget that, David, should we?
And never forget, I mean, it's true what you say, some of the finest. And I'm, just thrilled to be ushering in a new era for this company. I feel such a huge responsibility, but one that I'm taking very seriously. I love Australia. I loved it since the day I landed here in 2010, and I love living here and leading this company.
Yeah. Now, I've forgotten, is it Hallberg or Hallberg?
It's Hallberg, actually.
Hallberg, okay, I've got Hall.
Hall, yes.
Okay, well, I've got to remember that. I don't want to mispronounce your name because I like you, and I think what you're doing is very, very good for the arts in Australia. We've got to learn to love things like ballet. I think we're pretty good, but I think it's very, very important that we learn to love things like ballet. And I hope that people appreciate your involvement with this one, which is a beautiful, beautiful ballet. There's no doubt about it.
Agreed. And, it's a process. I mean, to really get to know the art form and come to the theater. But nothing compares, really. I mean, you can't compare ballet to sports or ballet to anything else. It's such a unique art form, but one that really has an arc of what people can enjoy, whether it's classical ballet or whether it's more contemporary work. The company does it all. So I think it's a beautiful time to get to know, if you don't know the Australian ballet, and to come see a show and don't feel, intimidated by it. You'll either like it or you won't like it, and that's okay.
That's okay. That's the way it's got to be. Now, how do they go about, what are the times for this? When is it going to be able to be seen?
Well, this is the centerpiece of our 60th anniversary next year in 2023. The premiere will be later in the year, but we plan on doing a tour around Australia and bringing it to the major cities in the country. So there will be plenty of opportunity to come see this beautiful new version. Okay, now, David, if there's any way we can help, as I love ballet, I'm very happy to help you in any way we can. If you need a reminder, need me to remind people of where it's going to be, the dates and that sort of thing, I'll be happy to help you, David. Perfect. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate your support. Okay, it's good to talk to you, and lots of luck. I'm sure it'll do wonderfully well. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. And you too. Bye. Okay, tell me what's on your mind. 1300 564 652 is the telephone number. Pick up the phone, dial the number, and you got us. John, are you there?
Yeah, g'day, John. How are you today?
I'm all right, John. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I just ringing up, say good day to you, mate. It's good to hear Dale on. I didn't think I'd hear him this week, tomorrow being a holiday, yeah. He seems pretty happy about Saturday, so that's good.
Yeah, well, that is good.
Yeah. Listen, can I ask you 2 questions?
Yeah.
In your life, I know you've been around a couple of days, but a couple of years, but the most important day of your life and the worst day of your life?
Oh, now you're asking a question that would need a great deal of thought before I answered that. Say again, the best day of my life?
The best day of your life and the worst day of your life, yeah.
Well, I can answer the question. I can answer it very simply. The best day of my life was when I met my Caroline. The worst day of my life was when she died.
Yeah, well, you and I think alike, mate. Yeah. I just thought that. I thought you'd say that, So I just sort of hope you don't mind me asking, but
No, I don't mind. I don't mind at all because I'm proud of it.
Yeah, that's me too, mate. I was married for 50 years, and before my wife went, yes, and I'll tell you what, you must miss Caroline too, mate. I mean, I miss Barry and something bloody awful.
Anyway, we're not going to go there. But I appreciate your call, John, and I hope that the rest of your life is happy and long. And I hope you call me another day and we'll find a different subject, no? Yes, can't they take the dole money off these protesters, says Narrabeen Rod. After all, they're not active in looking for work, are they? No, which is a requirement. You're quite right, Rod. But I don't know, we're so sloppy, we're so easy. Why doesn't somebody come down on them like a ton of bricks and say, look, you bastards aren't bothering to look for work at all? I just think it's. I agree with you absolutely, Narrabeen Rod. Why can't they take it away? What an idiot! This is Philip Jackson. What an idiot that last caller was. Says he's got lung issues, but he won't get vaxxed. Sounds like a Trump supporter as well. Philip Jackson, yes, very silly. Give us a call. Tell us what's on your mind. 1300 56 4652 is the number. You want to hear a great song? I mean, a really, really great song? Listen to this.
Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. C'est payé. J'ai allumé le feu, mes chagrins, mes plaisirs. Je n'ai plus besoin de balayer les amours avec leur trémolo, balayer pour toujours. Je repars à zéro. Non, rien de rien. Regrette rien, ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien, car ma vie, car mes jours, ça commence avec toi.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're lucky, as I'm lucky, and I just love music, that has got to be one of the most stirring renditions of any song ever. The marvellous Edith Piaf, the little sparrow with that wonderful, wonderful voice. She was just a shade under 5 feet tall, and she had that big and beautiful voice. She had a wild affair with my friend Charles Aznavour, They were, really. Give us a call. I don't want to talk about it because it's a sad song, but it's a wonderful song, and she's the most extraordinary talent, now gone, of course, a long time ago. Edith Piaf, and No Regrets. Great words. What about here's a nice text message for you, John. Laws. The best day of my life was when you retired. The worst day of my life was when you came back. Signed, Mark. Aren't you charming, Mark? Does that make you feel good? Why do you listen, you idiot? Why don't you ring up? Oh, I'd like to deal with people like you. The best day of my life was when you retired. The worst day of my life was when you came back. Signed, Mark. If that's your name, I doubt it's I doubt it's your name. But what a nasty piece. Does that make you feel good, does it, Mark, you moron? Yeah. Look, don't text anymore because we just shot them away. We don't like people around here don't like you one bit because you're a devout coward. You're a grub. You're a weasel. Okay, tell me what's on your mind. 1300 564 652 is the telephone number. Pick up the phone, dial that number. Now, I am not an advocate of capital punishment, as you know. But I've got to tell you, when I hear stories like the following stories, it does cross my mind. Yes, it does. A man from Western Australia has been charged with more than 400 child sex offences after allegedly abusing 24 children over a 6-year period. That is absolutely sickening. He was arrested and put in jail in July last year, but police have only just finalised their investigation and they've charged this cretin. In July last year, police in Western Australia received information that resulted in search warrants being carried out at the 47-year-old man's home and his work address in the Perth metropolitan area. Police seized multiple electronic devices allegedly containing child abuse material. Police now say that they found roughly 3.8 million videos and images. Can you believe it? 3.8 million? Million? Police say are considered to be child exploitation material, all of those. I mean, how does this man have time to do anything else except satisfy his deranged desires? This man is a moron. This man is a monster. Police say it's one of the most significant child abuse investigations ever conducted in Western Australia in terms of how many images were located. I would think it would have been one of the most significant child abuse investigations ever conducted in Australia, or maybe the world. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Officers from Sex Crime Squad, they were tasked with analysing the evidence. Imagine doing that. They say they also found evidence the man sexually abused a number of children. Yeah. He allegedly sexually abused 24 young boys and girls aged between 3 years old and 13 years old. The alleged abuse occurred between 2015 and 2021. Oh, God. Police also believe all of the victims were known to the man through family and friends. Sadly, that's generally the way. This man is now facing 413 charges, including 240 counts of indecently dealing with a child under the age of 13, 98 counts of indecently recording a child under 13, 44 counts of sexually penetrating a child under 13, 26 counts of possession of child exploitation material, and 5 counts of producing child exploitation material. He'll face court next week. My God, we've got to keep an eye on that. This bloke will go to court next week. Make sure we keep an eye on that. What type of sick bastard is capable of that type of abuse? I mean, he strips children of their innocence totally. He ruins their lives. He just doesn't ruin it for a day or two. He ruins their lives forever. I don't know, maybe the death penalty isn't required. Maybe instead of protective custody, the bloke should just be put in prison with the general population and let nature do its work. I wouldn't imagine he'd last long. What a low life. What a low life. Just dreadful. I can't believe it. I'm looking back at the stuff. 8 million videos. 8 million videos. God save us. Okay, 1300 564 652. Telephone number if you'd like to give us a call. Doug, are you there?
G'day, John. Sorry, I was going to say, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, only just, but yes, you're a bit muffled, but go on. What do you want to talk about, Doug?
Just quickly, these gutless keyboard warriors that send you these things, mate, they're not forced to listen. That shows how idiots they are. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make it doesn't make sense. No, you're right.
It's so stupid. I love your choice of music every day, John. I'm going to be whistling that song all day. I mean, I'm already doing it. Was in the car. I find it very uplifting. I don't know. Did you ever see the Australian movie Babe?
Did I see what?
The Australian movie Babe about the pig.
No, I didn't see it. No, I didn't see Babe.
They used that song in that movie. So
what? No regrets?
Yeah, they had the pig was walking through the streets of France all by himself, and a vicious dog got off his lead and was chasing him, and it was slow motion, and they played that song. And as I watch it, you think he's going to be eaten here. This dog's going to attack him, and they ran over this small bridge. The dog slipped and went over the bridge, and his lead got caught in the bridge, and he was hanging there. He was going to hang to death. And the pig turned around, even though the dog was going to kill him, came back, chewed through the lead. The dog fell in the water, and he saved the dog, and then the dog protected Babe for the rest of his life. He had like a henchman. So it most probably sounds funny if you haven't seen the movie, but I found it very uplifting, that song. So between that and the Big Money, I'm in.
Between that and the what?
The Big Money.
Oh, the Big Money. You mean the Big Country? That's a great bit of music, that, for the theme from the Big Country. But what about that film, the Big Country? Was that the title of the film? With was it Jennifer Jones?
Yeah, look, the movie was just... I might have said to you before, those sorts of movies I could watch. I've most probably seen it 30 times, and I still enjoy it. That shows you when great movies are made, they're iconic, and you never get bored of watching them.
No, you never do, and there's some wonderful ones, and we've got to remember them. We should remind people every now and again.
Well, and if you've got enough, and a lot of them are long movies too, and you know what's going to happen, but you still look forward to the adventure, and I think the music is key in some of those iconic movies. Do you know what I mean? Because as soon as you hear the music, it takes you to that point in the movie. You know?
Yeah, you're quite right. Anyway, Doug, you and I will go on appreciating them for a long time, because there's a hell of a lot of old movies around, and people will continue to play them. Are you still there, Doug? No, I think we might have lost him. I wonder what his favourite film is. I should ask people that. 1300 564 652. Yes, my footy advisor is on the line, Jimmy Smith. Good morning, Jimmy.
G'day, John. How are you, mate?
All right. What's your favourite film?
Good question. Probably a choice of two.
Yeah, go on.
Shawshank Redemption.
Great.
Yeah. And then there was the other film, the great Martin Scorsese film with Robert De Niro at the peak of his powers, called Raging Bull.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Raging Bull was good, but it was a pretty violent bloody film.
Well, by today's standards, I suppose it was, but it was a biopic about the great boxer Jake LaMotta.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was filmmaking at its finest.
It was a terrific film, I agree, but a pretty violent one. What about Casablanca? Didn't you love Casablanca?
Casablanca, yeah, I did like Casablanca. A little before my time, though, John. I didn't see it in the movies, I know that.
No, hang on, don't be rude. Neither did I. Neither did I.
Did you get popcorn with that, John?
Be quiet, Jimmy. We'd better have a look at the footy, son, before we get ourselves into trouble. Round 6 of the NRL kicks off tonight with Canberra at home to North Queensland. Both sides are coming off a loss, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Cowboys somehow lost against the Warriors last week. Every metric known to man and woman and child, they dominated in, except on the most important one, which is the scoreboard. So they lost that game. They were probably very unlucky to do so. The Canberra Raiders, they've been a disappointment. They lost to Melbourne. There's no shame in that, but they didn't play particularly well. Neither did Melbourne. They are going back home, the Raiders. That works in their favour significantly. But I think this is a real danger game. I'm going to tip the Raiders, John, but I think a close game.
Yeah. It was a pretty tough Golden Point decision against the Warriors. And to see that Warriors player banned for 4 games over a homophobic slur, we've got to get rid of all that behaviour.
I totally agree. Unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And the league cracked down pretty strongly on it, so I agree with that.
Yeah, the stronger the better. North Queensland has surprised a few people this season. I reckon they're going to win tonight. What do you think?
No, I think the Raiders. I think a tight one, but I'm going to go for the home side.
Oh, okay. If you want to, it's your decision.
Yeah.
Tomorrow afternoon, Souths play the Bulldogs. That's happening at the Olympic Stadium. Going to be a busy part of the world there tomorrow with the Royal Easter Show continuing across the road, so it's going to be pretty active. What do you I think South should have too much firepower for the Dragons.
Yeah, I think you're right. But no Latrell Mitchell, though, and that's a real concern for them. He's out for 8 weeks, which is a real shocker for the league too, because he's one of the most popular players. So he's out of action. They come back to the field significantly south without him, but the Bulldogs have shown that they just really struggle to score points. So I know Kyle Flanagan won some praise for his performance last week, which was okay, which was good. Good to see him back there, but they'll need more than that to beat the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So I'm going the Rabbits.
Yeah. You're mad about this Latrell Mitchell, aren't you?
Nearly as mad as I am about Tommy Trbojevic, yes. They're star players, John, and they're absolutely fantastic for the league.
All right. I think I agree with what you're saying. I think that your taste is excellent in that area. What's happening tomorrow night? Brisbane playing, they've got to travel to Penrith to play the reigning premiers. That's going to be a tough call, isn't it?
Almost go as far as to say impossible, John. I know that you should never discount anyone in a 2-horse race, but they're taking on the defending premiers. The defending premiers have just announced that the coach and the superstar player are sticking around for another 5 years. The visiting side, the Broncos, have lost their best player, Payne Haas, rightly or wrongly. Nothing is going the way.
Well, hang on a minute. Whoa, hang on a minute. When you say rightly or wrongly, what do we read into that?
Well, I'll say this. The actual incident that he's been suspended for was absolutely... There was nothing in it. But what worked against Payne was the fact that, one, he was filmed. Now, that's rightly or wrongly. The fact that this is a street reporter, that's someone, person of the general public's just caught this on film and then released it. And two, the other thing that worked against Payne was the fact that he's got a bad track record. So it's his record that's seen him suspended for 1 game, as opposed to the actual incident for which he is suspended.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Gets a bit complicated. What are we up to?
Well, what we're up to is saying that Penrith will definitely win tomorrow night against the Broncos.
Well, that's what you're up to.
Yeah.
I'm forced to agree with you.
Right, okay. I was going to say, it'd be interesting if you went against me.
Shh, be quiet. Saturday evening, Manly's at home to the Gold Coast Titans. Sea Eagles are coming off a big win over Newcastle. The Titans lost to Parramatta. It might be closer than it looks. I don't know. I reckon Manly. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think Manly. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Manly as well. The fact they're back at Four Pines Park is a good thing for them. They've been on the road a little bit. They had a good win against Newcastle. I thought they played really disciplined footy without Tom Trbojevic, and Daly Cherry Evans controlled everything with his kicking game again. Against the Titans side, they just blow so hot and cold, the Titans. There's no consistency with what they're doing, which makes them a danger. But I think Manly will have too much firepower for them. They'll win at home.
OK, well, we're in agreement there. Tomorrow night, Melbourne hosts Cronulla in what shapes is probably, I would reckon, you mightn't agree, but I reckon it's probably the match of the round.
I totally agree with you. A really fascinating story for so many reasons. You know, you've got the master coach up against the apprentice, and Craig Fitzgibbon's just starting his coaching career, but, you know, the early parallels that you could make with the young Craig Bellamy are there, certainly from their playing days. You've got a number of ex-Storm players on the Sharks roster in Nico Hines and Dale Finucane, so that's always a layer of interest. And then another layer of interest is that the Sharks have only won one premiership, and that was when they defeated the Melbourne Storm in the grand final. So there's a rivalry associated with these two teams as well. It's a cracking game, undoubtedly the game of the round, and I think a tight game. But I think the home side with Harry Grant and Cam Munster and Jerome Hughes and Ryan Pappenhausen, all just about back to their best, I think they can win.
I think you're right. Sunday afternoon, the Roosters play the Warriors at the Sydney Cricket Ground. This is just a formality, isn't it? After a very slow start to the season, the Roosters have been improving, but I reckon they'll win. But it's just a formality. It's not going to be a great game, is it?
Well, it's a dry track, and we're going to get some good weather over Easter, which is great news for everyone, not just for footy fans. But I think this could be an entertaining game. I think this could be a few points scored as well, and I think the Roosters will probably score the most of them, and therefore I'm going to tip the Roosters. But you never know with the Warriors. You just never know. They've got some exciting players there. Sean Johnson is playing well. Reece Walsh at the back is playing well. But the Roosters... people will say they got out of jail late against the Broncos last week. I thought they were clearly the dominant side. Just had to show it on the scoreboard. Eventually they did. And talk about players playing well. Joey Manu for the Roosters has been absolutely superb the last couple of weeks. Underscored how classy he is. I think he can help the Roosters to another victory this Sunday.
Mm-hmm. The other Sunday game features St George Illawarra against Newcastle. That's happening in Wollongong. Anthony Griffin is under some early season pressure to hold his position, isn't he? And the Knights will see this as a must-win game for them, and they do have to win it. What do you reckon?
This is a really tough one, John. This is one where you think, okay, I'm not... there's some question marks around key players for the Knights too. Dave Clement named. Does he play? That's an early return from a knee injury. Adam Clune's been named as well. He's under doubt with the injury. Kalen Ponga, we think, is injured, but he's been playing.
Yeah.
And then you've got a Dragons side that you're right about Anthony Griffin. They've won one of their last 13 games. If you go back to last year.
Yes, it doesn't look all that good.
No, it's a horrible streak for them. They're not selecting some players that I think everyone agrees are highly talented for whatever reason, and so there's some question marks around that. I'll tip the Dragons, John, but not with any real confidence.
All right, well, just to be annoying, I'll tip the Knights.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
All right, that's reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
Makes it more interesting. Easter Monday, Parramatta's at home to the West Tigers. The Tigers, I think, they haven't won a game this season, have they? No, they haven't. No. I can't see it coming against the Eels, can you?
No, I can't. This is a tough one. The Eels have been playing really well. They might have had a little hiccup with how consistent they were against the Titans, but earlier in the year, they've played some of the best footy I've seen them play in a long, long time, Parramatta. And the Tigers get Jackson Hastings back. He's a huge inclusion for them. He's a really important part of what they do, and that's happened very quickly. But they'll need more than Jackson. I think the Parramatta Eels will win it comfortably, John.
Do you know that you beat me last week?
Yeah, I suspected as much.
You suspected as much because I didn't mention it, that's why.
You know, it's funny, as I was talking about the 6th or 7th game there, I was thinking, why didn't we go through the scores from last week? And yeah, so I think now I know.
Now you know. I got 7 out of 8 and you bloody well got 8 out of 8. Shame on you. I've got a Jimmy joke for you.
I like these.
You ready?
Yep.
How do you make holy water?
No, I don't know.
Boil the hell out of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Can I ask you a question, John?
Yes, you may, yes.
Beyond Casablanca, what's your favourite movie?
Probably Citizen Kane.
Wow.
Good film.
He made that as a 25-year-old?
Yeah. Citizen Kane.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Another one that I love was The Third Man. Do you see that?
What was it?
The Third Man.
No.
Oh, look, I hope you're taking notes.
I'm actually locking it away. I've got, if you've got the page on your phone where you sit down in front of the television, you've got no idea what to watch, so you go, oh, no, I wrote this down earlier, so I'll write it down. Who's in The Third Man?
Orson Welles.
Oh, it's one of Orson. I thought you might have been talking about the fielding position in cricket. Not The Third Man?
No, yeah, that's Third Man. No. The book was written by a fellow called Graham Greene. You should have read a Graham Greene book in your day.
Oh, I've read The Quiet American, so I know Graham Greene.
Okay, so Graham Greene wrote The Third Man.
Ah.
It's a hell of a film. Orson Welles, Joseph Cotton, that marvellous English actor Trevor Howard. Oh, yeah, no, it's a terrific film. Get hold of The Third Man. You'll get it on Netflix or whatever you call it.
Okay, well, there's a good recommendation. I'll take you up on that.
Okay, and I hope you enjoy it, Jimmy. I'm going to sneeze. Do you mind?
No, go for it, John.
Okay.
Do whatever you like. It's your program.
Well, that's a very dismissive attitude for you to take. You are part of this program. I would have thought that you wanted to make sure that it was like a diamond every time you're on.
I'll tell you what was funny. I was watching the ABC the other day. And,
what for?
Well, I wanted to get the news that no one else gets, John. So,
yeah, well, that's good. Yes, I'll go for that.
So anyway, they talked about Albo's stumble in a election campaign. 5.4, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know the unemployment rate. Well, they talked about John Howard in 1996, talking about this new tax that he was bringing in and what it meant, et cetera, et cetera. And all it showed was vision of John sitting at a microphone. And next thing came over the unmistakable voice of John Laws saying, well, I bet you that bloke who just gave you that piece of paper deserves a pay rise.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I said to Tracy, that's John's program. 26 years ago, there he is having a chat with the Prime Minister, grilling. Well, actually, I think he was the opposition leader at the time.
Yeah, I think he probably was. I can't remember. But the Mother Superior recognised the coffee cups. That's how we knew.
Ah, wow, there you go.
So there you are. They were Wedgwood, good Wedgwood. All right, Jimmy, did I give you a joke? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good one. I liked it, the holy water. Appropriate too at Easter.
It's certainly very appropriate. What did the evil chicken lay?
Oh, there'd be some bad eggs there.
Deviled eggs. No, I don't like that. That's not funny.
No,
that's not funny. Delete that from the repertoire if you'd be so good.
Okay, all right, I won't use that.
All right, Jimmy, well, I hope you have a lovely, lovely Easter. Are you working all Easter?
Oh, pretty much, yeah.
It's a tough old world, isn't it?
No, actually, I don't mind. It's calling some games of footy and heading out to games as well, too. So it's in a post-COVID world, John, it's good to be doing those things.
Okay, I hope you have a lovely, lovely Easter with your family. Send them all my best wishes, and we'll talk to each other again next week.
Thank you, mate, and same to you as well. Have a happy Easter, John.
Thanks, Jimmy. Bye. Okay, tell me what is on your mind. 1300 564652 is the number that you dial. 1300 564652, and tell us just that. What is on your mind? Who's there? Anne, are you there?
Yes, I am, John.
All right, Anne, what can I do for you?
I wanted to know if you ever watched the Brush with Fame, Arn?
Yeah, I do.
Well, next Wednesday your mate is on, Johnny Williamson.
He is on. Never call him Johnny. John Williamson, yes. He's on.
Well, I've got a brother named John, and we only ever call him Johnny.
Yeah, well, I had a sister called Jennifer, and she only ever called me Johnny.
Oh, right. And you didn't like it?
Didn't like it a bit.
Oh, right. Never mind. It's nice to get called something.
Anyway, the Emu is going to be on with, what's his name? What's that man's name?
Arn's. It's called Arn, Brush with Fame, at 7:30 on a Wednesday night.
He's clever, that man, Arn, isn't he?
He is brilliant. He gets all their story in their eyes.
Yeah, he's very, very clever. And so is my little brother, John Williamson. Maybe he'll do a painting too. Maybe they'll both do a painting.
Who's that?
John Williamson and Arn.
Oh, can John Williamson paint?
Can he paint?
Can he really?
Oh, yeah, he sure can.
Oh, right, I will. Let's wait and see what happens next Wednesday. But I watched it last night and I thought of you, as I do a lot. I more or less grew up with you in Maitland.
You did?
Bulwarra. Or Bulwarra.
Yeah, Bulwarra. I had that lovely house there.
Yes, and the nice neighbour across the road that used to muck your driveway up.
Yeah, I saw him somewhere recently, and I reminded him that he used to mess my driveway up, and he walked away. I don't know whether he was...
But you got square, didn't you?
I don't know whether he was offended or not, but I was joking about it as much as anything.
Yeah, no, that was fun days, those. Yeah, and John, I was surprised. It might be 12 months ago, excuse me, you didn't remember what we used to refer to as the black boy in High Street, on the corner of Church and High Street, where they used to tie the horses up to.
Yeah.
Remember that being there?
Look, I really don't.
Oh, gee.
I know I should, but I can't lie to you. I really don't remember it.
Do you remember a shop? There was a shop there, and in my days of, when I was having babies and things, it was called Fossey's.
I remember Fossey's, yeah.
Well, it was out the front of Fossey's. It was.
Yeah.
What was opposite? There was a menswear store opposite there, Harvey's.
Yeah, well, I remember that too. Listen, sweetheart, we're going to have to stop reminiscing because it's pretty boring for everybody else.
What a shame. Okay, well, I've been waiting for many, many years to say hello to you, because I used to really get excited when you'd come to the service station to fill your little car up.
That's very nice of you to remember that, Anne. And
remember that, because Mr. Noy'd call out, Anne, he's here. So I'd get him there to have a look at you.
Well, bless your heart, Annie. Thank you very much for the call, and I hope we get to talk again another day.
I and an E before it.
Beg your pardon?
If you're going to call me Anne E, you've got to put an I and an E before, after Anne.
Okay, I'll just stick to Anne. It's going to be easier. 1300 564652, and tell me what's on your mind. Okay, into the final hour of the John Laws morning show, so give us a call. It's the start of the Easter long weekend. Everybody's trying to get out of Sydney. The mass exodus is already plaguing the airport, with queues out the door, apparently, and delays expected for commuters on the road. But one climate group wants to make things even more difficult. Fireproof Australia caused major delays yesterday when they blocked a southbound lane of the Sydney Harbour Bridge during peak hour traffic, I might say, and despite being arrested, they've threatened to protest again. A spokesman for Fireproof by the name of Bonnie Casson is on the line. Bonnie, my dear, are you there?
I am here.
What are you protesting about?
Hi, John. We're protesting about climate. Our government isn't taking the action that's required to protect the people of Australia and the world in regards to climate, and we're calling them out on this, and they don't like it.
No, well, I imagine all the people who were held up by your protest yesterday, who couldn't get to work, who couldn't go to school, who couldn't do the shopping, I imagine they didn't like it much either.
I imagine they didn't, but it's going to be nothing compared with the disruption that we face under a 1.5 or 2 degree warmed world. You know that, don't you, John?
I don't put words in my mouth, my dear. No, I don't know that at all. But where do you get your figures from, out of interest?
From the top scientists of the world, from the IPCC report, from the United Nations, from all the credible sources. So we are very confident in the research that we follow.
Okay, but would you mind? I still don't understand, and I might be a bit stupid, but I don't understand how stopping traffic on the Harbour Bridge at the best of times, but to do it during the peak hour is bloody dangerous. It's stupid, and I have no idea what you were thinking. What was going to be achieved by that?
Well, John, we don't get media time to talk about what the issues that are happening, and so. We really need to do things like civil disobedience to be able to speak to people like yourself about the issues.
As soon as you commit some act of civil disobedience, you blow all your credibility right out the window, gone.
Well, the ones that we have are very important, and they're very simple, and I think most people agree that we need a sovereign firefighting fleet to fight the fires that are unprecedented and we're experiencing now under a climate change world. And we have one air bomber here in Australia. California has 18. Canada has 20.
I don't care about other countries. Listen, you just said that you've got to protest because you don't get media time. Nobody's ever rung me up and said, could we have a bit of media time? You didn't ask for it. Why didn't you ask for it, Bonnie?
I'm really happy that you rang me today, and you invited me today. So, we have 3 demands which are to do with...
Yes, but okay, but you're complaining that you didn't get media time. Answer the question. Why didn't you call me before? Did you ask any media for media time? No, you just went out and disrupted traffic and delayed people's days when people wanted to go and do a day's work. You didn't ask for it. You didn't say, look, we're going to do this or we need to do this. Saying you can't get media time is just stupid.
Well,
it's a lie. It's untrue. You get media time. If you want it, you're getting it now.
Honestly, John, I've been talking to media stations all week, and they keep saying that our demands aren't getting out there. But I very clearly communicated our demands to them.
Okay, but tell me this: when you say our demands, why are you in a position to make any demands?
Well, everyone is. Like, we're people of Australia. Our government is doing the wrong thing by the people of Australia, and we're asking them to do the right thing.
Okay, well, you believe the government is doing the wrong thing. The government was democratically elected.
Who's in the emergency fire chiefs group, he said that we need a sovereign. Him and the other fire chiefs and the Royal Commission found that we do need fire bombers, and we've got one. And our government's not committing to getting more. We can no longer hire them from the state because they've got fires 12 months of the year as well. So, we need to have these planes because our bushfires are wide scale. We lost a significant amount of forest in the 2019-2020 bushfires. We're also asking for smoke filters in the schools and in aged care facilities and in disability facilities so that they're not going to be affected by the smoke in these bushfires. So we know...
Those flares you had yesterday and lit yesterday, they release a cocktail of chemicals known to be harmful to human health, including benzene, particulates, nitrogen oxide, heavy metals, black carbon, carbon monoxide...
John, it's nothing...
And yet you lit them.
...that we're releasing in Sydney every...
How do you know? Are you a scientist? Are you qualified to say that?
I've researched and I've looked at those...
You've researched. Everybody can research. What did you do? You go to the internet and have a look.
John, the internet is not evil. I don't know why you think it is.
I beg your pardon? What is what?
The internet is not evil. I don't know why people seem to think it is. It holds a lot of very valid research.
Yes, it does, but it also contains a lot of crap. It depends which way you read it and which way you look at it. Yeah, I mean, you lit those flares, and yet you say you care about the environment.
Sometimes we need to do things to get attention. We sometimes have to do things to get attention. If we hadn't have done these things, you would not be talking to us now. We know that, John. So,
well, how do you know that? How do you don't know that at all, Bonnie? That's unfair to say, if you hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be talking to you now. Be quiet. What would happen if you had have rung up yesterday and said, listen, something could be on and I'd like to talk to you about it. There's talk about a protest being held and people might like flares. Could I talk to you about it before it happens? I would have said, yes, Bonnie, any time you like, but you didn't do that.
Well, maybe we could do that in the future and we can have really good conversations with you, John. But, the fact is that we are already at 1.44 degrees of warming. That was confirmed in the IPCC report that came out at the end of last year. And we, in Australia, if we reach 1.5 degrees average worldwide, that's going to be even more significant to us. We're already reaching 50-degree plus days in some areas of Australia, and people can't actually survive in those sort of heat. So we know that, older people, their lungs don't operate on 50-degree days, and particularly when we have 100% humidity. And so, we really need to take measures that are going to stop the the warming of this planet, and that means we need to immediately stop coal and gas-generated electricity. And we need to be net carbon zero before 2030. And our government hasn't even got a plan for being net zero by 2050. So, these are really significant things. If our government isn't taking action, it's up to the people to force them to. So that's what we're trying to do, John.
Okay, could you tell me why your group is called Fireproof?
Because fires are one of the most biggest threats that we're facing in Australia. We have unprecedented fires. So I spoke, to many, many firefighters during the Black Summer bushfires on the South Coast. And, they were terrified. And what Greg Mullins, our fire chief, retired fire chief, has said is that we're trying to fight nuclear fires with third world weapons, firefighting tools. So we actually need to equip our firefighters with the correct tools for them to be able to fight these fires. Otherwise, we're just asking our firefighters to die.
What is it? Before you go any further, what's a third world weapon?
Hoses, I suppose. When we've got catastrophic bushfires that are uncontrollable, when we've got 2-metre fireballs...
You can't even answer that question.
Sure.
Look, you can't answer any questions. What's a third world weapon?
John, that was creative language. You use creative language all the time. What I'm saying is the fire...
No, listen to what I'm saying for a change, Bonnie. What is a third world weapon?
Well, firefighting trucks that aren't going to fight the fires when we need air bombers to fight them. If we've got large-scale bushfires, in the Black Summer bushfires, we had roads full of fire trucks.
Yeah, those air bombers, they'd emit a bit of pollution, wouldn't they?
John, how much pollution do you think the bushfires generated?
I don't have any idea. But I know that those air bombers would emit massive pollution.
John, we have people travelling by air every day. You just said in the news 5 minutes ago that we've got queues at Sydney Airport because everyone's leaving for the Easter holidays. They're going to emit much more. We need these planes to fight the fires. We're in a world where we already are set up for these things. But we need to protect the people of Australia. We need to protect our forests and we need to protect our wildlife.
Well, of course, all of that is axiomatic. Do you know what axiomatic is? Because all of that is axiomatic. All of that goes without saying. Of course we've got to protect things. Of course we've got to protect our environment. Of course we've got to protect our health. Of course we've got to protect our animals and our children. That goes without saying.
Did you know that over 400 people died after the bushfires from asthma-related deaths because of the bushfires directly? And we had a lot of animals die that were in rehab that they later died from smoke inhalation. So, and these are just the ones we know about.
Okay, but I still don't know what it is you're trying to prove by blocking all the traffic and making a bloody nuisance of yourself. You sound a bit too bright to be want to be a professional nuisance, but that's what you are.
And we're not trying to be professional nuisances, John.
Well, you are a bloody nuisance. And for blocking traffic, I mean, people how do you know that people weren't going on their way to the emergency ward at the hospital? How do you know that they didn't have sick kids in the car? How do you know that there wasn't a pregnant woman sitting in the back of one of those cars you held up? And then you go and light toxic flares and you want to have air bombers? I don't know. All you want to do, Bonnie, my dear, is bring attention to yourself, and you've done it.
I don't really think that's the case, John, but what we found is protests and talking to politicians, signing petitions, having protests where we arrange it with police, they haven't worked. So we need to up this because it's actually serious.
Why don't you protest legally? Why don't you write to the government and ask if you could have a hearing with the government or arrange a protest in Hyde Park?
Yes, and they don't want to meet with us. They don't want to talk with us.
How do you know? Have you tried?
Yes, we tried.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that you have written to the Prime Minister's office and asked for a specific meeting. I don't believe you.
We actually asked for a meeting with Sandra Lay, the Environmental Minister, in October last year, and we got no response. We've sent a public letter to the Prime Minister and all the ministers in his cabinet, and no one has responded to us. We have asked for a meeting.
I'd like to know what was in the correspondence you sent.
It's on our Facebook page. We've got it there.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. I'd be interested to see that. And
I'm happy to send that to you. If I can talk to your producer after the call.
Anyway, you've threatened again to disrupt more traffic today. Well, are you aware that it is?
We're simply having a birthday celebration and calling out the harsh punishment that Andrew George got given in court on Monday. So he was given 3 months imprisonment, and we think that's very unfair simply for calling out to protect the people of Australia.
Okay, but he broke the law.
Climate change.
They broke the law. If you break the law, you pay the price. I mean, you know what the rules are. He knew what the rules are.
He's a dangerous person, and he's actually not a dangerous person. So, you know, his character wasn't able to be communicated to the judge properly, we believe. And
yeah, well, this is all you believe, but don't you trust the courts of law?
He is appealing, so hopefully his appeal will be successful.
Yeah, well, you're hoping. And the ones last night who were kept in custody last night, they faced jail as well, don't they? Do you care about that?
I do care about that, but everyone makes their own choices, John, and they were quite prepared for that.
I beg your pardon? What about all what?
Important that they're prepared to risk their freedom to get attention for the emergency situation we're actually in terms of the climate and ecological situation we're in right now.
Okay. You've threatened to disrupt more traffic today. When are you going to do that?
Well, we actually aren't going to disrupt traffic today. We were simply going to have a birthday celebration and, as I said, call out the harsh punishment, which we feel shouldn't have been placed on Andrew George.
Do you think that what you're doing is fair? I mean, do you really think it's the Australian way to go? You held numerous roads and commuters to ransom, and you haven't made much progress with your aim anyway.
The saying from Gandhi, which I might not be quoting 100% correctly, but it says, first they laugh at you, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they get angry, and then you achieve what you need to achieve. So, you know, that's what we're aiming for. And this is the only way social change has ever been made in the past. And since everything we've tried before, like protest and being nice and writing letters and trying to convince people to make change, nothing of that's worked. So this is why we're trying this.
I think it's pretty safe to say that most people in New South Wales wouldn't like you very much at all. I think they would dread the thought of Fireproof Australia becoming involved in anything. Aren't you worried about how your reputation is going to affect your aim? People are tired of people like you. Think of it, Bonnie. People are tired of people like you who disrupt other individuals' lives, allegedly for your own good.
Oh, it's not actually for my own good. It's actually for everyone's own good. But, John, I hope people come to understand. And it's not everyone that hates us. We're getting so much support as well. There's people writing...
Yes, well, you're getting support from people of your own ilk.
But there's lots of them, you know. There's more than the negative. So we're getting...
Oh, come on. They're more than the negative. Rubbish. Rubbish. You ought to talk to a few of those drivers who have been held up with your stupid stoppages here and there. Ask them. They're on their way to work. They're trying to go to the hospital. They've got a sick kid in the back of the car and you hold them up. Bonnie, you're fighting a losing battle, my dear. You've got to find a better way to do it. And I mean, you're not stupid. You've got a brain. You sound like a reasonable young girl. A woman, I don't know. How old are you?
John, I'm 60. I'm actually got triple-negative breast cancer at the moment. It's a very rare cancer. And I might only be on this planet for another couple of years.
Yeah, okay. Well, don't pull the sympathy string, my dear. That doesn't work.
Well, this is why I'm fired up. It's because I want to make sure that I've done everything that I can to protect my children and grandchildren and other people while I'm on this planet.
Okay, well, I don't know that you're doing it the right way, but we will not continue the conversation as I think we've covered everything that we can. It sounds to me like you'd like to be a martyr. Is that what you want? Is that your aim?
Not at all, John. Not at all. We want other people to join us, and we're just ordinary people, very, very ordinary people who just want to, who read the science and want to make a difference in this world because our government is not taking the action that's required. They're beholden to the fossil fuels.
When you say it's required, you use funny words. When you say they're not taking the action that is required, who said it's required?
Well, we have an organisation in this world called the UN, the United Nations, and they put out a lot of good science, and one in particular is the IPCC report. And that's really important because it helps to guide the actions we need to take to offset the situation we're in terms of emissions in the atmosphere. So we know that fossil fuels create emissions in the atmosphere and create climate change. So we need to stop our addiction to fossil fuels. We need to stop our energy being produced by gas and coal, and we need to convert immediately to renewable energy.
Bonnie, my dear, aren't you aware that climate change has gone on ever since we knew the word climate?
No, John.
I mean, in the middle of the 1970s, we were threatened with an ice age. You know, climate change has gone on forever and a day and will continue long after you and I are gone. They'll still be talking about climate change.
100 scientists that were sitting on the roads last week around the world because they think this is so important. And these are climate...
Okay, they may think it's important, but why should we place faith in what they think when we've got 100 scientists or more all over the world? Did we have 100 scientists sitting on the road? No.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Science Rebellion.
No, we didn't. Not scientists sitting on the road.
Search of it.
Where? Could tell me where that happened?
All over the world. If you look...
Rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
John, look it up. It's true.
Look, Bonnie, I don't want to argue with you. You're too nice. I don't want to have a fight with you. So let's call it a day. Have a lovely Easter, and we'll talk again another day, I'm sure.
I would love to talk to you another day. Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, that's a pleasure, Bonnie. Goodbye. Okay, 1300-564-652. Wayne, are you there?
Yes, I am, John. How are you?
I'm all right, Wayne. What can I do for you?
Look, second-time caller. I rang you probably a year ago. You played Roger Whittaker whistling the Elizabethan Serenade.
Yep.
But I'd just like to say one thing, mate. That has made my day. Your interview with Bonnie, I thought, was the worst waste of time going, and you asked the most succinct question, and, mate, it has made my day. What would happen if you held up the traffic and there was a pregnant woman trying to get to the hospital?
Yeah, well, that's what I said.
Yeah, and mate, look, that made my day. That was the question, the one question that I would have asked if I was speaking to her, and look, honestly, it made my day. It just showed her care factor.
Yeah, well, you're right there. But they don't care. Those people don't care about other people. No. That's the problem. If they cared a bit about other people, what would have happened if a situation like that had have developed, and a woman had miscarried, or a woman had had a breached birth, or some problem that women do have when giving birth to children? You know, there could have. I don't know that there was a woman pregnant in the back of a motor car somewhere, but there could have been, and that's the point that we were making. Anything was a possibility.
Indeed, I think we carry the word inconvenience too much. It's not so much the inconvenience to the average commuter. There are people on the road at different times that really need to get somewhere to...
That's right, for some particular reason. You're entitled to protest. I don't mind people protesting if they do it legally.
Yeah.
But those protesters are totally wrong, absolutely wrong. And Bonnie, who sounded like a reasonable sort of woman, is plain bloody stupid.
Absolutely. My son had a cut finger. Now, I know, mate, some people might think, cut finger. He cut it down to the bone.
Oh.
Now, we just got him in the car, took him to the hospital. But the thing was, it needed treatment straight away. And it's not just about being, like, if you're a pregnant woman, there are people that need to be on the roads at a certain time. And, the care factor from her, mate, what a great question. Made my day, and I thank you for that.
That's okay. Thank you for the call. All right, if you'd like to give us a call and tell us what's on your mind, you can. Pick up the telephone, dial the number. An earlier caller, Errol, was wrong when he quoted this is from Sam, when he quoted what Anthony Albanese said about the carbon tax convoy. What he actually said was a convoy of no consequence. I hope that's right. I hope your caller correct. Yeah, we had a look at this after Errol. You're quite right, Sam. You are quite right. It was called the convoy of no confidence. That's what it was known as. And if we have it right, Anthony Albanese called it the convoy of no consequence, which still got under the skin of the demonstrators. They didn't like that at all. But you've got to remember that was in 2011. 2011 was quite a long time ago, wasn't it? 1300 564 652 is our telephone number if you'd like to give us a call and tell us what's on your mind. If you want to send a text message, 0458 049 209 0458 049 209. We're going to have a look at the week in a moment or two. I hope you have a very happy Easter, and more importantly, I hope you have a very safe Easter. Whatever you do, try and love somebody. That'll make the Easter even better for you. But I really mean it. Do have a happy and healthy Easter.